So, Fallout 76 has been released, and it is getting met with a lot of hate. And this is really unfortunate because, I'm so sick of this always happening to game franchises. And, 76 is, it's tragic. And I don't know how the game is. I'm going to reserve all the hate for, when I actually play the game, because I will definitely buy the game. Being a big Fallout fan, I am definitely going to purchase this and at least experience it for all that I can experience off of it. Now, Fallout 4 was a beautiful, great game that didn't have quite the same level of quality as Fallout 3, but then again, that's hard to do. But Fallout 4 was an amazing game where hours and hours of my life was poured into that particular game. And, I have no regrets. It was a beautiful looking game. It was a game with a lot of tight gameplay, with a lot of memorable moments, a lot of different paths, and a good story arc. Fallout 76 comes along, and it's short on the story. It's online only, which is something that I just think is downright stupid. Listen, let's really put this all into perspective. Has there ever been a successful, massive, multi-online game to the level of World of Warcraft? Has any game ever really managed to capture that same level of success where, the servers are pretty spot on, everything flows very well, and the game still, maintains a level of quality? There's been a lot of disasters for online only over the years. Star Wars Galaxies, which was, I remember when that game was so hyped up and all the delays that went into it. And then it finally came out, and it was a huge, massive, colossal disappointment. I think almost every single game developer that is going to try to make a online game that is, just completely online and cannot be accessed or played in any way while being offline, then they should probably take a look at LucasArts and their failed 2003 release of Star Wars Galaxies. I believe it was 2003. Maybe it was 2000. I believe it was 03. They should take a look at that, study, take notes, and just do everything opposite of what they did during that time, because that was such a huge failure. They learned their lesson, and then they went on to make several other successful games that didn't follow that same model of development. So 76 has decided, you know what, they're going to take advantage. Most people are online, but then there's a fair amount of people who don't want to play online, such as myself. They might be online, they might have their Xboxes or PS4s connected to online, but they will not be using those features in the way that, they want them to. And so the developers went ahead and, they made this game that's, it's a side game. It's not 3, it's not 4, and that's probably why. But then I think back to side games like Fallout New Vegas. And I have to say, that wasn't an online-only game. That was a game that, well, it didn't really take too many chances. It wasn't really that much different than 3. But it was a side game, and they managed to make their money. And they managed to, do what they had to do, without really giving the next entry in the game. But it felt like a valid entry anyway. And I'm saying, why can't they do that? If they want to just... The purpose of making games is to have people buy them, be entertained, they spend their money. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about revenue, right? So 76 comes out, and, I believe there's microtransactions in it. And, the thing is, that's not a very popular feature nowadays, but many people still do buy stuff. But that's not really the concern here. What's the concern is that the game is very glitchy, and that the game got a day one patch that was something like 62 gigabytes, which is just fucking insane. I mean, like, I understand that gaming is advancing, and, you know, I'm advancing with it. I'm still, you know, as you guys know, like, very retro to a certain degree. And I still prefer a lot of old IPs and franchises, and, you know, I still go back and I play just as much retro as current. But, you know, it's like there's certain times when advancements just become too advanced too quickly. Now, with the Xbox 360, you think back to where you really only had, when you bought the system, you had about like 8 gigs of memory when the system first came out. If you were like me and you got, you know, the original Xbox with the first ever hard drive, you know, I think it was like 16 gigabytes, but half of it was taken up already by, you know, stuff that had to be on the hard drive in order for it to function. You had about roughly 8 gigs to toy around with and save games. The thing was, as the system progressed, it started to be even more demanding, to the point where you needed to get a bigger hard drive to have certain games, like, you know, like the certain, like, later entries in the Call of Duty series and the Battlefield series. And it was getting ridiculous. There was way too much that system was asking for. So now you've got this problem where now the current gen systems, you know, like, I thought, like, oh, I was good, you know, with the Xbox 500 gigabytes, you know, even having 1 terabyte, you know, you would think, like, that's enough, like, you're good. Let me tell you something, that is not enough. You can barely even say that my collection of Xbox One games is not even that big. But I'll tell you something, right now, my Xbox is sitting at 93% full capacity, which is, like, ridiculous. So, and I'll tell you this, when I buy 76, I'm going to have to buy some expansion. I'm probably going to have to delete something off my Xbox because it's demanding so much fucking memory. And the thing is, what you could really just say here is that, first of all, why does it have to be that demanding? You know, I understand this is a big game and the level of graphics that it is, you know, putting forth. It probably calls for a lot of memory. But, first of all, we're talking about the patch is like 60-something gigabytes. Not the game itself. You could so you're going to buy the disc. You're going to put it in your Xbox. You're going to download however many gigs the game itself is. And then on top of that, you're going to download the day one patch. So you're telling me all together that this, probably at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're probably going to have 100 gigs. So you're saying, you know, on the standard original Xbox One, you're going to have about maybe 1/5 of the memory taken up by one fucking game. One game that I'm not even sure how good it is. It's kind of hard to tell because a lot of the critics are holding back on reviews, you know, since a lot of stuff isn't finished. And the thing is, if the game's not finished, then delay it. Now, I understand that probably they didn't want to get the reputation of being in development hell, because, you know, whenever a game keeps getting delayed, you know, but now we see that they're rushing. They're fucking rushing. And you see this with all these different games, whether it's Street Fighter 5, whether it's what's the other games that have come out? Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. All these games are coming out and they're not even finished. They come out, and what they do is they release a beta, an unfinished game, and then they add on to it with these various patches. And it's like they don't even take into consideration that people, you know, the Xbox has memory, and they're going to have other games on there. And, you know, there's nothing more annoying to me than when you have to buy some accessory for it. Like, you've already purchased the system. You've already spent $300, $400 on the system. You've already paid $60 for the fucking game. Now you're telling me I have to go and buy, like, an external add-on? I'm going to have to, you know, contribute, like a flash drive to just, you know, the games. Like, you know, I feel that once you have the system and once you have the fucking game, it's up to the developers to figure out how to, you know, make it less tasking on the player, because, like, it really is. It's getting a bit ridiculous. You know, whether it's, you know, microtransactions, DLC and everything, just give me the goddamn game. I mean, let me show you guys something here. This is Gradius 3 for the Super Nintendo, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so you see this game right here? You know what you have to do to play it? And I know people are going to say that Mike Matei said this first, and he did, so I'm going to give credit where credit's due. He did say something very, very similar to this, and he said it multiple times, because I'm a Mike Matei fan. I'm not ripping him off. Now, in order to play this game, you know what you got to do with it? You put it in the Super Nintendo, you put it in the console, you power it on. Hopefully you don't have to blow it in 1,000 times. But guess what? It turns on. And you know what? The game is finished. This is Gradius 3. This is the whole game. There's no DLC. It's, you know, there's no, I don't have to worry, oh, I gotta delete something, oh, I gotta, you know, get a new flash drive or a new add-on, I gotta buy an external hard drive because my Super Nintendo can't handle any more games. No, that's not even a concern. You play Gradius 3 and you're playing the whole Gradius 3. Not part of it, not the beta, not, you know, it doesn't need a day one patch. No, Gradius 3 is good to go for the rest of its life because this is the game right here. That's all it is. And it's not just Super Nintendo. It was like that for the Xbox. It was like that for the PS2, for the original Xbox. It had been like that for a long time. So, you know, it's like when people make the excuse, oh, it's for modern gaming. No, that's not the case at all. It's not that it's modern gaming. It's poor planning. There is a way that they could do this without it being so tasking. It's just they don't want to condense anything. It's like, this is like all the raw shit. Like, you know, here's the game. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no way that a patch for a game could be just as big as the game itself. And if that is the cause, then the game is no good. It shouldn't have been released then. You know, and plus, whatever happened to testers? You know, like, speaking of Mike Matei, you know, think back to, like, Angry Video Game Nerd episodes where, you know, James Rolfe would ask the question, did they even test this shit? We need to kind of ask that question again now. Are they testing these games or not? And I think also what the primary thing is, the problem with Fallout 76, is the simple fact that this game is online. And from what I'm reading is that a lot of it has to do with the servers. So you know how that could have been fixed by not having it completely online. That's probably one of the things right there, because when you're asking for the game to be online all the time, you know, internet connections are weird. You know, when you watch a video, sometimes it's going to stutter. That's what's going to happen when a game is running online, as opposed to just running off the disk or running off your hard drive itself. The game is mostly, it's on your hard drive, but it's also like on another plane completely. It's just online, so it's like not very reliable. If your internet goes down, you can't play the game. And, you know, with certain people in certain parts of the country, you know, if you're out in more rural areas and you can't really, you know, you're out in the boondocks and you don't get really good signals for the internet, you're not really gonna, you're not gonna do too well in this game. So it's like, they don't even think about this. It's poor planning. I understand that they want to take games into the future, but you know, there's no reason that games have to be just totally online. Like, where's the option to play offline? And, you know, I'm so sick of them stripping things away, stripping things down, no story mode or anything like that. Like, you know, it's like they already must know upon releasing this game that it's not a good idea. You know, like, doesn't Bethesda just kind of think about it for a moment and just say, like, well, you know what? Fallout's pretty much known for always having story mode. And it's always primarily been offline with the option of going online, you know, but it shouldn't be mandatory. Like, just doesn't anybody, with all the minds at Bethesda, all the minds of all these development companies, doesn't anyone ever say that this shit's like a bad idea? Like, the reason why these people got into game developing is because they liked video games. So you would think, as being gamers, that they might just say to one another, like, something here is not right, and kind of change it, you know, like, kind of foresee any problems in the future from happening. So, you know, people don't hate on your game doesn't get all the bad press. You know, and right now it's not even press. It's just a lot of users saying this. So, you know, you can imagine, like, when the press comes out, you know, they might try to defend it and everything, but, you know, you can't even trust the journalist as it is, what they're going to say. So, all I'm saying is this seems like a pretty big mess, and it could have easily been avoided, you know, from learning from the past. But, you know, anyway, guys, I don't know. I'm going to play the game for myself. I don't know exactly when, but, you know, I mean, if I see a little bit too much, if this game is too messy and everything, I'm probably going to just wait until I could get it at a much lower price used, because I'm not going to, you know, drop that much money on a game if it's such a broken mess. But I still, as a Fallout fan, will probably want to check it out. Because I usually do that with games of series that I really like a lot, even if I hear they're bad, because a lot of times I actually end up liking them because I like the series so much. Just probably to a much lesser extent. So, guys, if you know, but like I said, I'm going to reserve, you know, a lot of personal opinions on the actual quality of the game itself and the gameplay until I can actually get my hands on it. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, please hit a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new content. Check out some of the content I have posted here. And I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Until next time.